Hello, I'm Catherine Learnwell and I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about maths outdoors. Unfortunately for me, the sun is shining and the sky is blue, unlike yesterday when I would have been in my wellies, raincoat and underneath an umbrella, but I would have still done it. I want to hopefully give you some thoughts and fill your boots with enthusiasm for seeing the opportunities outside, for giving young children in the early years settings, in your early years settings, a love of all things maths. And I think it starts with you. It starts with you and it's got you in the middle and it ends with you. It's all about you and the way that you embrace, put your arms around and give maths a chance every day. You kind of got to be a bit of a detective and look for the opportunities. So first up, if we took just a little something from EYFS, which is make comparisons between objects using and relating to size. So how would I think about that? Well, first of all, I would think about using the children's bodies as much as possible. So you don't need any equipment because you've got children and they've got bodies, and you've got you and you've got a body, you've got hands, you've got feet, you've got arms, and then you've got everything that's around you. And I would challenge you to constantly be thinking of this one word: guess and estimate. So here we've got a tree. Off we go. Hope you can still hear me. Can you get your arms around it? Ask the children, can they get their arms around the tree? How many children does it take to go all the way around a tree? But don't just get them to do it straight away. Say guess first. Is it 1? Is it 10? Get yourself into the habit of guessing everything. So how many children does it take? Can you get all the way around? Can you get part way around to hug a tree? That's just one little idea from our new Maths in Nature, tree hugging, and lots of it's brought to life. And on these, and I'm showing you these because if you can see there, for me, it's all about getting the words in your setting, in your head, in everyday life. And there's more maths in everyday life than we often give credit for. I think if you love maths, you see them, and if you don't love maths, you maybe don't see them. So start looking. So let's pick off a few. And also think about ways in which, in your setting, you can pepper them to remind you to look for them. So, for instance, we might use the word long. We might use the word thin. You might look for the word big or wide. You might look for more or less. You get the idea, don't you? I've got a load of these things. They might be on pebbles because that's pretty hard wearing, or you might have them stuck around in sparkly glitter. You might just have them on a little word list. How long is a piece of string? You know, you might just have your words of the week that you are, sorry, not that one, that you are all agreeing to use and look for, and really value those opportunities. You know, if you take big and biggest, that's a massive concept for children to get their heads around. And you as practitioners want to be looking for as many ways that you can give them experience of big and biggest, because it's relative. You know, in my family, I'm the tallest, but put me anywhere else in the world and I'm the shortest. These things are relative. So think about ways that you can constantly be asking the question, who's the tallest in this little group of children? Who's the shortest? And am I taller? Am I shorter? Let's line everybody up in order. Ooh, so many opportunities. And I also wanted to, sorry, I'm talking way too fast, but when you think about measuring anything, so, you know, how big is this, how large is this area, how big is this area, how long is this path, then think about how can we measure it. Maybe suggest to the children that they use their feet as measures and count their footsteps. Maybe suggest that you use a twig as a measure, and each child has their own twig. Maybe have twigs with the halfway line painted on, so you can add the concept of 1.5 twigs, or a lolly stick, same thing. Just simple ways of adding non-standard measure into everyday life. But always, can you guess, can you estimate? How many do you think it'll be? Is it 1,000? Is it 100? And I know that they won't necessarily have the real concept of what 100 is or 1,000, but I think it's just really good for us to have that habit of can you guess, and how would you work it out? How would you work it out? And don't answer the question, leave it there, because children are really inventive. But yeah, basket full of twigs for measuring things and lay them out. And when it comes to counting, so thinking about counting, there's so many opportunities, aren't there? And to keep it real and keep it concrete and keep it things. So whether it's going out collecting pine cones and then counting how many you've got, yeah? So how many have you got? And remembering that to get the real sense of the 4-ness of 4 or the 5-ness of 5, we need to see it in so many different ways. So don't be frightened of doing the same thing over and over and over again, but using different objects. I like to think about what if you were learning to do this in a completely different language that you've got no understanding of, like Mandarin or French or Spanish, and what if that was being spoken? How would you understand the 4-ness of 4? Sorry, I can't speak Mandarin. But you know, when we created our little number trays, that was, for me, it was all around this. You know, parents often love to say, my child can count to 10. Well, they might be able to recite the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and in the right order, but have they got any concept of the 5-ness of 5? And it takes, well, you know this, it takes a long time to get that real connection between 5 objects and the number 5 and the word 5. And so these, and you can make your own out of paper plates, but these are my way, our way at Learnwell's way of reinforcing the value of counting, whatever it is, collecting and counting. I've got seashells here fitting into my little tray, but here, and then we've got a moment to stop and think. So all my seashells here are different. So reinforcing that this is 5 different things. And that might confuse some children because they will be distracted by the sheer size and beauty of this seashell compared to this seashell. So again, thinking about, well, some children might need all 5 things to be identical. And I've just brought some rings out. But if all 5 things are identical, that makes it a little bit easier for some children than it does for having all different things. Thinking about when you, as soon as you get objects, thinking about different ways of classifying them. So obviously outdoors, it's a lovely thing to collect from nature, treasures, gorgeous treasures that I've got here. But thinking about talking to children, right, we've got loads of flowers. Can we classify them? Can we group them? The easiest way for most of us, unless you're colourblind, is to see the colours. And so to start by maybe, I don't know, it could be any old quadrant, but putting your flowers, sorry, I'm not got this very well prepared. I could do with a table, but grouping my flowers by colour. So I'm going to put all the pink ones together. I'm talking about putting all the white ones and the yellow ones together. And then maybe the orange one, here he is, look, all on his own. And which group does he go in? He's got a bit of orange in the centre. Let's put him over here with the pinkies. And then you've got the purples over here. But once you've done that, you've then got this opportunity to say, but what if we put them in groups by the number of petals they've got? And then suddenly those groups will look very different. You might have the category that's called a lot of petals. That one's got a lot of petals. That one's got a lot of petals. But this one has only got 4 petals. So I'm going to put that one there. And this one has only got 4 petals. Now, because I haven't got enough hands, I haven't got a lot of hands, I've only got 2. I'm going to put that down now because I want to say to you, in the spirit of keeping maths as concrete as you possibly can for as long as you possibly can, if you've got enough flowers, then pull the petals apart. So you're counting 1, 2, 3 petals, 4 petals, 5 petals. And I remembered slightly too late there to do what I'm going to now suggest that you do, which is don't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say 1 petal, 2 petals, 3 petals, 4 petals, 5 petals. Look at my 5 petals. So you're constantly reinforcing this group of petals. And look, none left. All 5 petals are there. Constantly giving children that chance to see the 5, the group of 5, which is different to the group of 4, which is different to the group of 3. So that was a little bit of flower power. Now, what else might you do? So you might seize the opportunity on a rainy day to collect rain. Oh yes, let's talk about rain for a minute, shall we? So over here, you probably can't see it. So let's say it's a rainy day. This is another little one that I've taken from our maths activity cards. Look, collecting rain catcher. So it's a rainy day, let's collect rain. So saying to the children, shall we collect rain? And how shall we collect rain? And who can collect the most rain? Again, we've got another one of, more, less. So you might collect it in this jug. You might collect it in this jug. You might collect it in this one. See, don't answer the question. See if the children start to see if there is any correlation between this, the size of the hole, and how much rain you might catch. Some of the children might get that all by themselves. Others won't, and you just need to put them outside and collect rain. And then talk about which one's got the most rain in it. They might start to look and say, the wider, the better. So this one can collect more rain because it's got more space for the rain to go in. Or you might find that some of the children, sorry, a bit noisy, think, let's go really big and collect rain in a big pan. Nice activity for a rainy day, and just leave. Once you've decided what you're going to try, just leave it all out and then come back to it the next day and see how much is in there. And once you've got your rain in all your different size containers, then you've got the lovely activity of how we're going to measure it. And again, thinking about how do you transfer the water that's in here and the water that's in here, the rain that you've collected, how are you going to transfer it into something that you can measure? And I didn't bring it, but I meant to bring you a nice, here look, a nice little bottle with just some notches on, but that could just be done with a felt tip pen. Children could fill it, but how are you going to get it into this little bottle? So again, you've got this nice opportunity to start talking about, well, we could move it with a spoon, nice big ladle. We've got this spoon, we've got this spoon, we've got, here look, I've got a gazillion spoons, all different sizes. And you could talk about which is the best one to use to move the water from the collector into the bottle where you're going to measure it. I've got this tiny little minute spoon. Putting all the spoons in order is a lovely activity. Which is the biggest spoon? Which is the smallest spoon? Which spoon would the giant have from Jack and the Beanstalk? Would he have the ginormous big spoon, or would he have the tiny little spoon? Thinking about breadth of language that you can include just for big and small, peppering that in. Thinking about the way that you measure up the bottle, and you know, how many spoonfuls, and not necessarily always counting. So one of the things that I think is nice to do, because it's so visual, is instead of physically counting, that you're actually placing a bowl from one container to another every time you spoon. So you might reinforce it with 1, 2, 3, but it's just a really nice way again to say that's 3 spoonfuls, rather than it all just being a verbal thing that some children can't connect to. So physically moving balls or buttons or beans or whatever. So I think that's everything. I'm just gonna, oh, this one, this. So look out for opportunities to surprise and delight. So what have I got in here? And also to get children to guess, what have I got in here? What do you think is in here? Is it an elephant? Is it a pussycat? Is it a mouse? Actually, what I've got in here is a teeny tiny minute little cup that a fairy might use to drink from. I'm very full. Or something that's really big. You know, I couldn't find one, but I wanted to. When I had the tray of flowers, you sort them all in order and decide which is the smallest and which is the biggest. And then out of your pocket, you produce a huge sunflower, which is the biggest and the best. Think about ways of peppering in those surprises. Think about the rich language that you might be using. Minute, tiny, minuscule, petite, little, small. They're all great additions to vocabulary, and it's maths. Think about the prompts for you. So whether that is having a little list that you've agreed this week we're going to do as much classifying and grouping and tallying as we possibly can in every activity. We're just going to look for opportunities. Or it might be we're going to do more, less, amount, enough. And put it physically around your space to remind you. It might be we're going to use predict, estimate, guess, and prompt yourselves. You might put these in the sand and water area, again, to prompt you so that you say, which one is the longest? Which one is the thinnest? Which one is the shortest? Is that shorter than that? You only need to throw that in and you've done a lovely little maths, sneaky little bit of maths, bit of magic. Connect to stories. So, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk is great for size, isn't it? You know, he's huge. Think about this is the big A, think about you. Think about how enthusiastic you are. Think about how, if you don't love maths, then make a little promise to yourself that you're gonna start to love it. You're gonna pass on love and affection for those everyday opportunities for maths, because children pick up on how you are as much as what you say and what you do. So think about and then the last one, and this is to talk through your thinking. So if you present a problem, give children time to solve it themselves. Give them the opportunity to puzzle and to ponder. But if you give them a solution, then talk through your thinking. So how are we going to measure round the tree? What have we got that might be long enough to measure a tree? What could we use that bends? Could we use a twig? Well, it's not very big. Could we use a ruler? Well, it's not very bendy. Could we use, how about a piece of wool? It would be good if it was a very long piece, or a piece of string. That could be really long, and we could bend it round a tree. So talk your thinking, because that is such a valuable thing to do inside or outside, actually. And just enjoy maths. It's a wonderful thing. It's a gift that you're giving to children. Thank you.